Council discusses the situation in Yemen today. Prime Minister says that the 8-year conflict has aggravated the situation in the country. International Immigration says immigrants in the Horn of Africa need urgent humanitarian assistance. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English News with me, Rushan Fuad. The United Nations Security Council meets on Yemen today to listen to the final report of the Sanctions Committee on Yemen. The Sanctions Committee will precede the closed consultation session on Yemen, while the Security Council will hold a closing evening session late this month to extend the mandate of the group of experts, which ends on March 28. Chairman of the Presidential Leadership Council held talks in Brussels with the head of the European Council. In the meeting, Al-Alimi expressed his gratitude for the European position in supporting the Yemeni cause and called for pushing the rebel militia to abide by peace. Al-Alimi noted also the importance of strengthening financing interventions to ensure the transition from relief and humanitarian support to development and economic aspects. During the global governmental meeting in UAE, Prime Minister Ma'in Abdul Malik considered building strong state institutions in countries experiencing conflicts as an essential factor to contain and stabilize the situation and overcome challenges. The following report has more details.
Ma'in Abdul Malik Saeed, the Prime Minister of Yemen, has participated in the World Government Summit, which is a global platform dedicated to shaping the future of government worldwide. During a session, he stressed that Yemen has suffered from the war with the Houthis over the past decade, which negatively affected its internal and international situation.
The situation in Yemen, this is an important question, as it is passing through a critical time after 8 years of war. We've passed through worse situations, especially in 2015, when the Houthi rebels have taken control over the state institution.
Saeed highlighted the procedures undertaken to support Yemen's economy, including reducing public spending when the state budget has significantly declined, noting that its budget deficit is 80%.
We are not an oil state, and the budget has declined a lot with 80% deficiency. The central bank is passing through a hard time, but we managed to decrease the deficiency to 55%.
Yemen held talks with the World Bank and the Arab Monetary Fund, being two sources of direct aid, and this had reduced the country's deficit and implemented economic reforms, which saved Yemen from collapsing. Saeed has also highlighted his recent meeting with President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, praising the UAE's role in constructing the first and largest 120 megawatt power plant in Yemen. He noted that the Ma'rib Dam was established by the UAE, leaving a historical footprint in Yemen, and it is now financing the Hassan Dam, to represent a huge progress.
Yemen's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Abdullah El-Saadi, discussed with the Special Envoy of the United Nations of America to Yemen, Tim Lander-King, political developments on the national scene. The U.S. envoy renewed the U.S. position in supporting efforts to reach a political settlement to the conflict in Yemen, expressing his country's appreciation for the position of the Yemeni government and its adherence to the option of peace and restraint. United States of America called on the United Nations to accelerate the implementation of the first phase of the rescue plan for safer tanker. The U.S. State Department said its Special Envoy for Yemen, Tim King, met in New York with David Grassley, the UN Humanitarian Coordinator for Yemen. King affirmed his country's firm support for taking urgent measures to save safer tanker and prevent the catastrophic leakage in the Red Sea. Government forces in Taiz thwarted an infiltration attempt by the Houthi militia on separate fronts around the city. This coincides with the continuation of confrontations with medium and light machine guns north and west of the city. Three children were killed and 3 others were injured in 2 mine explosions in Hodeidah. Sources said the mine exploded in a group of children in Hais district south of Hodeidah, killing 2 children and injuring a 3rd. The sources indicated that the incident occurred while the children were playing football. In a similar incident, a Houthi-laid mine killed a child and injured 2 others in Durayhimi district. Masan Project for the Mining announced the destruction of more than 1,100 mines and unexploded ordnance in Bab el-Mandab area, western Maghreb. On Sunday, the project announced the removal of 1,387 mines, ammunition and explosive devices during the first week of this month. The International Immigration Organization announced that over 1 million migrants in the Horn of Africa need urgent humanitarian assistance. This report has more details.
The International Organization for Migration and 47 other partners are requesting $84 million to deliver humanitarian and development assistance to over 1 million migrants and the communities that host them in the eastern route from the Horn of Africa to Yemen. The appeal is going to address the problems and risks that migrants face, including the humanitarian and protection services they need, as well as the implementation of long-term sustainable solutions for migrants and host communities. Every year, thousands of migrants leave their home countries in the Horn of Africa and travel east to Gulf countries. Most migrants take dangerous routes, using the Red Sea crossing through Somalia and Djibouti's coastal town to Yemen. Then they continue by land to Gulf countries. Over the past years, millions of Yemenis experienced extreme suffering, like the effects of the war, ongoing economic crisis, and disrupted public services. Many countries around the world, including Yemen, need urgent humanitarian assistance. Millions of people in these countries rely completely on humanitarian aid, and they desperately need assistance to survive life. In Yemen, approximately 19 million people are unable to meet their daily food needs. This year, about 68% or 21.6 million people need urgent humanitarian aid. Also, an estimated 3.5 million suffer from acute malnutrition. Humanitarian Chief Martin Griffiths talked about his fears how the situation in 2023 could continue to be extremely difficult for Yemenis due to many factors, including the country's economy.
I, of course, also fear that 2023 will be another extremely difficult year for the people of Yemen. Humanitarian needs remain alarmingly high as the country's economy continues to weaken and basic services hang by a thread.
The appeal's funding will address the most immediate and critical humanitarian and protection needs of migrants in vulnerable situations, as well as support their return to their home countries in a safe way. If donors do not speed up the funding process, this will simply worsen Yemen's dire food security situation, which is already concerning.
Coming next. A tough water shortage crisis hits major areas in Lashkar and Ray.
تهامة فيها خير كبير جدا.
البيطري صمم عمان للتغذية الحيوانية بشكل عام.
نجي نعالج البقرة على طول، الحمد لله الآن لو في بقرة مريضة نعرف إيش فيه.
يهدف المشروع إلى تحسين سبل عيش مربيات الثروة الحيوانية.
قمنا بعملية تدريب المربيات. الهدف هو كيف ننتج حليب نظيف.
طبعا هناك حماس صراحة من المزارعين وجمعية كشوبع.
نسبة الزيادة في الإنتاج قد تكون 99%.
Welcome back. Maghreb Governorate is famous for cultivating oranges, whose harvest season often falls in the winter season, in addition to other crops. Despite the large production of crops, farmers struggle with finding local and external markets to sell oranges. This report has more details.
Maghreb Governorate is known as the home of oranges due to its possession of the highest percentage of annual production of seasonal orange fruits. Maghreb is famous for cultivating several types of citrus oranges, a large area and vast farms, but their fruits are still on their branches. The continued closure of fruits posed a great challenge for many farmers in harvesting and exporting orange fruits, which represents a loss for the farmers.
With difficulty in harvesting because there are no central markets, no exportations, and the roads are cut, this has negatively impacted farmers here.
Despite the agricultural diversity in Maghreb Governorate and the percentage of its production of fruits, including oranges, farmers find themselves perplexed every season in front of the accumulation of their farms with fruits, as a result of a lack of central markets in the governorate, in addition to the closure of export outlets as a result of the war. However, the farmer is still under a continuous siege and is surrounded by challenges facing the export of his agricultural products.
Despite the announced truce, the roads are still cut. This has caused huge problems for farmers in Maghreb Governorate in terms of transporting their products. They have to use sub-roads to reach the markets, and they are very long.
Agriculture in Maghreb Governorate is the main activity for the majority of the population and their only source of income. The governorate produces large quantities of various agricultural crops, including winter fruits, and it also represented a source of income for thousands of displaced people who lost their salaries and income.
Citizens of a number of residential areas and neighborhoods in Lahj Governorate suffer from tough water shortage crisis. The following report has more details.
Over the 7 challenging years, Children and women struggle in Lahash Governorate in search of water in order not to die of thirst. A scarcity of water crisis haunts the residents of Al Baytara village, plus other crises they have been living. Men, women and children spend most of their time searching for water to drink and bringing it to their distant homes. Suffering overwhelms Rita Salem as poverty suffocates her weakness, and she says that it has been a year of unprecedented hunger and the lack of water still continues, just like aid, while she is forced to take her children and stand in lines in front of water tanks that was established by the people in charge in the area.
Every day we struggle to fetch water so that we and our children do not die of thirst. I can't bear carrying the gallons of water because my arm hurts, so I get the kids to help me fill the water containers.
Water was available years ago, and it reached homes continuously before the water pumping tank's function got deteriorated, and this crisis was exacerbated due to the high prices of water transport trucks.
We suffer from water scarcity and we only have water containers, all of which have holes. My husband is sick and we need water. I'm the one who goes to get it.
We are displaced here and we suffer from water scarcity. When we need water, we wait for an hour until our turn comes. I appeal to the officials to find a solution to this problem, especially Ramadan is approaching.
The problem depends on the response from the authorities' side to the family's call to provide water in the area, amid the people's demand for humanitarian institutions and organizations to pay attention to this aspect of the tragedy.
Sometimes water is available and sometimes not. Sometimes we fill 1 or 2 containers, and if there's sufficient amount of water, we fill our containers for 2 weeks, even if it's not clean.
Water is available underground, and unfortunately the competent authorities in the Ministry of Water haven't established a project to pump water to deliver to the houses for many years. There was a water pumping project, but it was not maintained to function. The village now needs water, and I appeal through your TV channel to officials, organizations and local authority to build at least a large water tank for the benefit of the villagers.
Al Baytara village stands on the edge of complete collapse. Many people here are stranded due to the suffering of the lack of water, gas and electricity, hoping to obtain basic services, perhaps to relieve their burdens.
The Civil Commission for the Victims of Home Bombing said the Houthi militia shelling of houses of innocent citizens is a criminal act. The Commission condemned this criminal behavior and called the international community to condemn this behavior and hold those responsible for it accountable. Here is a reminder of the main headlines. The United Nations Security Council discusses the situation in Yemen today. Prime Minister says that the 8-year conflict has aggravated the situation in the country. International Immigration says immigrants in the Horn of Africa need urgent humanitarian assistance. This is is the end of the news. It was Roshan Fouad. Thank you for watching.